Welcome to the Sci-Fi Cosmic Conquest channel. We utilize the latest AI technology to bring your imagination to life through magnificent sci-fi stories. Join us on journeys to the far reaches of the universe and witness the survival of humanity. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We would like to share another great story with you. The story revolves around the great bravery of humanity fighting for its survival on a far distant planet. The battle takes place on the ground and in the sky. We bring you the epic story, Ragnarok, the push for mankind. Please comment and share.
Ragnarok, the push for mankind. Chapter 1, the calm before the storm. The galaxy of Helios was in turmoil. For decades, the relentless Zahard aliens, a fierce and technologically advanced race, had waged war against humanity, seeking to dominate and enslave. Now, the fate of the galaxy rested on the distant planet of Ragnarok, a rugged world 150 light-years from Earth. The human forces, battered but unbroken, prepared for what would be their most desperate and decisive battle. This story will end, but yet another will begin. Please stay till the end and see how this story will unfold. General Mack Stone stood on the observation deck of the command center, his piercing blue eyes scanning the horizon of Ragnarok. He was a tall, imposing figure, with a chiseled jaw and graying hair that spoke of years of experience and countless battles. His presence commanded respect, and his men looked up to him as a beacon of hope in these dark times. The landscape below was a mix of harsh deserts, dense forests, and sprawling mountain ranges, a fitting battleground for the epic clash that was about to unfold. General Stone, the Zahard fleet is advancing. ETA is 5 hours, reported Lieutenant Mark Hastings, a young officer with a steely resolve and eyes that reflected both determination and fear. Stone nodded, his face a mask of calm. Inform Fleet Admiral Barry. We need to be ready for anything. In the depths of space, the human fleet, led by Fleet Admiral John Barry, moved into position. Barry, a seasoned commander with a reputation for brilliant tactical maneuvers, had a singular focus to ensure that the Zahard never set foot on Ragnarok. His fleet consisted of powerful battleships, agile fighters, and heavily armed frigates, each crewed by men who knew the stakes of this battle. All ships, prepare for engagement. This is our last stand. We hold the line here, or we lose everything. Barry's voice echoed through the communication channels, his words infused with a mix of urgency and unwavering resolve. The Zahard fleet, an imposing array of sleek, dark ships, approached with menacing precision. Their leader, General Valak, a ruthless strategist with a cold, calculating mind, had underestimated humanity before, but he would not make the same mistake again. The Zahard were relentless, their war machines unmatched, and their thirst for conquest insatiable. As the Zahard fleet entered the outer atmosphere of Ragnarok, the skies erupted in a symphony of destruction. Human fighters soared through the air, engaging the alien ships in a deadly dance of fire and metal. Explosions lit up the sky, and the sound of laser fire filled the air, creating a cacophony of war that resonated across the planet. General Stone watched the battle unfold from the ground, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination. Deploy the ground forces. We cannot let them gain a foothold. Troop transports descended from the human ships, unloading waves of soldiers and armored vehicles. The ground forces, led by Stone himself, moved with precision and discipline, ready to defend their home with every ounce of strength they had. As the battle raged on, the humans fought with a ferocity born of desperation and hope. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they refused to yield. The sounds of battle, the roar of engines, the clatter of weapons, the cries of the wounded created a symphony of chaos that enveloped the planet. Stone led his men from the front, his presence a rallying point for the soldiers. His voice, calm and steady, cut through the noise of battle. Hold the line. We fight for our homes, our families, and our future. The Zahard, relentless and unyielding, pressed their attack. Their advanced weaponry and tactics tested the limits of human endurance, but the defenders of Ragnarok held their ground. They fought with a determination that came from knowing that this battle was their last hope. As night fell, the battle showed no signs of abating. The humans, battered but unbroken, continued to resist the Zahard onslaught. The air was thick with smoke and the scent of burning metal, and the ground was littered with the debris of war. In the midst of the chaos, a young soldier named James Harkin, his face streaked with dirt and sweat, looked to General Stone. "Sir, can we win this?" Stone placed a reassuring hand on Harkin's shoulder, his eyes filled with a fierce determination. "We will win, son, because we have something they don't, the will to fight for what we love." As dawn approached, the battle for Ragnarok entered its most critical phase. The humans, driven by a mix of fear, anger, love, and determination, prepared for the final push. They knew that the fate of the galaxy rested on their shoulders, and they would not falter. The Battle of Ragnarok had begun, and the outcome would determine the future of humanity. In the face of overwhelming odds, the human forces stood united, ready to fight to the last breath. The stage was set for an epic clash that would echo through the annals of history as a testament to human resilience and the indomitable spirit of those who refused to surrender. Chapter 2. The First Clash. The early morning light cast an eerie glow over the battlefield as the human forces prepared for the next wave of Zahard assault. General Mack Stone, his features grim and resolute, surveyed the terrain, knowing that every inch of ground would be fiercely contested. The rugged landscape of Ragnarok, with its jagged rocks and dense foliage, provided natural cover but also hid many dangers. Positions, everyone Stone's voice boomed over the comms. "The Zahard will be relentless. We must be more so." The human soldiers, clad in their advanced combat armor, took their positions. The armor, sleek and black, was designed to provide maximum protection while allowing for agility. Each soldier's helmet was equipped with a HUD heads-up display that provided real-time tactical information. Their weapons, a mix of energy rifles and projectile-based firearms, were prepped and ready. Suddenly, the air was filled with the unmistakable whine of incoming Zahard drop pods. They hit the ground with earth-shaking force, and from them emerged the alien warriors, tall and imposing, their dark, segmented armor glinting in the dawn light. Their eyes, a piercing shade of green, glowed with an unearthly intensity. "Here they come," shouted Lieutenant Paulo O'Ailey, a burly man with a bushy red beard and a reputation for fierce combat skills. His voice was barely audible over the roar of the battle that erupted as the Zahard forces charged. The clash was immediate and brutal. Energy beams sliced through the air, creating a deadly lattice of light and destruction. Human soldiers fired back with equal ferocity, their weapons spitting bullets and plasma in a relentless barrage. The ground shook with the impact of explosions, and the air was thick with the acrid smell of burning ozone and metal. General Stone, moving with a grace that belied his years, led a squad in a flanking maneuver. His energy sword, a weapon of rare precision and power, cut through Zahard armor with ease. The screams of the dying, both human and alien, echoed across the battlefield. "Keep pushing. Don't give them an inch." Stone's voice, calm and authoritative, inspired his men to press forward despite the chaos around them. Nearby, Captain Nathan Cole, a tall, lean soldier with sharp features and a reputation for strategic brilliance, coordinated the defense of a key choke point. His deep voice cut through the noise. "We need more firepower on the left flank. They're trying to break through." The battle raged on with no sign of abating. The Zahard, relentless in their assault, showed no signs of fatigue. Their advanced technology and brutal tactics tested the limits of human endurance. But the defenders of Ragnarok, fueled by a mix of fear, anger, and an unwavering determination, held their ground. In the midst of the carnage, Sergeant David Kane, a seasoned warrior with a scarred face and eyes that had seen too much, fought like a man possessed. His heavy machine gun unleashed a torrent of bullets, mowing down waves of Zahard attackers. For humanity, he roared, his voice a rallying cry for the men around him. The sound of battle, the sharp crack of rifles, the hum of energy weapons, the explosions, and the cries of the wounded created a symphony of chaos that resonated across the battlefield. The human soldiers, despite their exhaustion, fought with a ferocity that matched the Zahard's unyielding assault. As the sun climbed higher, the battle reached a fever pitch. General Stone, his armor scorched and battered, found himself facing a Zahard commander. The alien was a towering figure, his armor adorned with intricate markings that denoted his rank. Their eyes met, and in that moment, Stone knew that this was a fight that would be won or lost in the next few minutes. With a roar, Stone charged, his energy sword meeting the alien's plasma blade in a clash of light and sound. The duel was intense, each combatant pushing their skills and endurance to the limit. Around them, the battle continued to rage, but for Stone and the Zahard commander, the world narrowed to just the two of them. In a final desperate move, Stone feigned a stumble, drawing the alien in for the kill. As the Zahard commander moved to strike, Stone pivoted, his sword slicing through the alien's armor and into his chest. With a scream, the commander fell, and Stone stood over him, breathing heavily, his face a mask of determination. Stone to all units, he said into his calm. The commander is down. Push them back. We can win this. The human forces, inspired by their leader's victory, surged forward with renewed vigor. The Zahard, sensing the shift in momentum, began to falter. One by one, they were pushed back, their lines breaking under the relentless human assault. As the sun set, the battlefield grew quiet. The Zahard, unable to maintain their foothold, retreated, leaving the humans victorious. The cost had been high, but Ragnarok remained in human hands. General Stone, bloodied but unbowed, looked over the battlefield. The bodies of the fallen, human and Zahard alike, were a grim reminder of the price of war. But there was hope, for today they had held the line. Rest now, Stone said softly to his men. Tomorrow we fight again. Chapter 3: Shadows of Doubt. The victory at Ragnarok's surface was hard-won, but the battle was far from over. As the human forces regrouped and tended to their wounded, General Mack Stone and Fleet Admiral John Barry met in the command center, a fortified bunker deep beneath the planet's surface. Barry, a tall man with graying hair and a stern demeanor, looked at the tactical display with a furrowed brow. We've won this battle, but the Zahard will be back. They're relentless. Stone nodded, his face lined with fatigue. We need to reinforce our positions and prepare for the next assault. Their technology is superior, but we've got something they don't: the will to fight for our home. Agreed, Barry replied. I've already ordered additional ships and supplies. We'll need to fortify our defenses in space as well. The Zahard won't stop until they've crushed us completely. As the two commanders discussed their strategy, the mood in the camp was somber. The cost of victory had been high, and the men knew that the fight was far from over. The sound of medics tending to the wounded, the hum of repair drones, and the soft murmur of soldiers talking filled the air. Sergeant David Kane, his face etched with both relief and sorrow, sat with his squad around a makeshift fire. We held them off today, but how many more days like this can we endure? He wondered aloud, his voice heavy with weariness. We'll endure as long as we have to, replied Corporal Jake Miller, a young soldier with a determined glint in his eyes. We've got the best leaders and the best soldiers. We'll find a way. Meanwhile, deep in the heart of the Zahard fleet, General Valak fumed. His forces had been repelled, and his best commander had fallen. The failure gnawed at him, but it also fueled his resolve. He would not underestimate the humans again. Prepare the next wave, Valak ordered, his voice cold and commanding. This time, we will crush them utterly. Back on Ragnarok, Stone and Barry continued their preparations. Every soldier, every piece of equipment, and every ounce of their combined experience would be needed to face the coming storm. They knew that the Zahard were relentless, but they also knew that humanity's spirit was unbreakable. As night fell, the human forces steeled themselves for the next battle. They knew that the fight for Ragnarok was just the beginning of a much larger conflict. But they also knew that as long as they stood together, they could face any challenge. In the quiet moments before dawn, General Stone walked among his men, offering words of encouragement and sharing in their camaraderie. He knew that the road ahead would be long and difficult, but he also knew that they were ready. We fight for our homes, for our families, and for our future, Stone said, his voice filled with conviction. The Zahard may come at us with everything they have, but we will stand strong. We will not falter. We will not fail. The men nodded, their faces set with determination. They knew that the battle for Ragnarok was just the beginning, but they were ready to face whatever came next. They were humanity's last line of defense, and they would not let their people down. As the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, the human forces stood ready. The Zahard were coming, but they would find a resolute and determined enemy waiting for them. The battle for Ragnarok had begun, and the outcome would shape the future of the galaxy. Chapter 4. The Siege Begins. The dawn brought an uneasy calm to Ragnarok. The human forces, having tasted victory, knew that it was but a fleeting moment in a war that promised no easy end. As the sun rose, casting long shadows over the rugged terrain, preparations for the next wave of Zahard attacks intensified. General Mack Stone stood at the forefront of his men, his eyes scanning the horizon. Beside him, Lieutenant Mark Hastings relayed orders through the comms, ensuring every unit was in place. "General, all ground forces are positioned and ready," Hastings reported, his voice steady despite the underlying tension. "Good," Stone replied. "Remember, our strength lies in our unity. We hold this line together, or we fall alone." In space, Fleet Admiral John Barry's fleet orbited the planet in a tight defensive formation. The human ships, though fewer in number, were bristling with weaponry and determination. Barry watched the tactical display, his mind a whirlwind of calculations and contingency plans. "All ships, maintain defensive positions," Barry ordered. "We can't afford to let the Zahard breach our orbital defenses. Every second we hold them off buys time for the ground forces." The Zahard fleet approached with a menacing precision. General Valak, his eyes burning with cold fury, had no intention of repeating past mistakes. His fleet's formation was tighter, their strategy more ruthless. "Commence the attack," Valak commanded. "Show them no mercy." The space battle erupted with a ferocity that shook the very fabric of Ragnarok's skies. Zahard ships unleashed a torrent of plasma beams and missile volleys, met with an equally devastating response from the human fleet. The void was filled with the brilliant flashes of exploding ships and the silent screams of the fallen. On the ground, the human forces braced themselves as Zahard drop pods once again descended. The first wave hit hard, but this time the human defenses were more prepared. Trenches and barricades provided cover, and heavy artillery units rained destruction on the landing aliens. "Hold the line," Stone's voice was a steady anchor in the chaos. "Don't let them breach our defenses." The Zahard warriors, relentless and fearless, surged forward. Their energy weapons carved through human defenses, but the defenders fought back with equal tenacity. The sounds of battle, the crack of rifles, the roar of explosions, the cries of the wounded filled the air. In a forward command post, Captain Nathan Cole coordinated the efforts of multiple units. His sharp mind and quick reflexes made him a natural leader in the heat of battle. "Reinforce the eastern flank," Cole ordered. "We can't let them outflank us." As the battle raged on, Stone found himself at the heart of the fiercest fighting. His energy sword was a blur of deadly precision, cutting through Zahard armor and flesh. Despite the chaos, he maintained a calm focus, his mind clear and his resolve unshakable. In a nearby trench, Sergeant David Kane fought with the fury of a man possessed. His heavy machine gun roared, mowing down waves of Zahard attackers. Despite his weariness, his spirit remained unbroken. "We'll hold this line," Kane shouted to his men. "For our homes, for our families." The battle for Ragnarok stretched into the night, the planet's surface a hellscape of fire and smoke. The human forces, though battered and bloodied, held their ground. Every inch of territory was fought for with a determination that matched the Zahard's relentless assault. In the command center, Stone and Barry communicated constantly, their strategies evolving with the ebb and flow of battle. They knew that this siege would test their limits, but they also knew that they could not afford to lose. "We need to disrupt their supply lines," Barry suggested. "If we can cut off their reinforcements, we might be able to turn the tide." "Agreed," Stone replied. "I'll send a strike team. We can't let them gain the upper hand." As the battle entered its second day, the human forces prepared for a daring counterattack. A specially trained unit, led by Lieutenant Mark Hastings, was tasked with infiltrating the Zahard supply lines and disrupting their operations. Under the cover of darkness, Hastings and his team moved swiftly and silently. Their objective was a heavily guarded supply depot, a vital lifeline for the Zahard forces. If they could destroy it, the enemy's momentum would be severely hampered. Move with caution, Hastings whispered. We only get one shot at this. The infiltration was tense, every shadow a potential threat. The Zahard guards, though vigilant, were unprepared for the precision and skill of the human strike team. In a series of swift, coordinated attacks, Hastings and his men neutralized the guards and set charges on the depot's critical structures. Charges set, reported Private Jack Reynolds, a demolitions expert with a knack for making things go boom. Ready on your command, Lieutenant. Detonate in 3, 2, 1, Hastings ordered. The explosion rocked the night, a fiery blossom that lit up the sky and sent shockwaves through the Zahard ranks. The supply depot was reduced to rubble, and with it, the Zahard's immediate ability to reinforce their frontline troops. Mission accomplished, Hastings said, a rare smile crossing his face. Let's get back to base. The successful raid bolstered the human forces' morale. The Zahard, though still formidable, had been dealt a significant blow. General Stone and Fleet Admiral Barry used the opportunity to launch a coordinated counteroffensive, pushing back the Zahard forces and reclaiming lost ground. As dawn broke on the third day of the siege, the battlefield was a testament to the tenacity and courage of the human defenders. The air was thick with smoke and the scent of scorched earth, but the line held. In the command center, Stone and Barry shared a moment of quiet reflection. The battle for Ragnarok was far from over, but they had proven that humanity would not go quietly into the night. We've won a battle, Stone said, his voice heavy with the weight of leadership. But the war is just beginning. And we'll fight it, Barry replied, his eyes shining with determination. For our people, for our future. As the human forces regrouped and prepared for the next phase of the conflict, they knew that the battle for Ragnarok was a crucible that would forge the destiny of the galaxy. They were ready to face whatever came next, united in their resolve and unbreakable in their spirit. Chapter 5: The Turning Tide. The days that followed were a blur of relentless combat and strategic maneuvers. The human forces, galvanized by their recent successes, continued to push back against the Zahard invaders. General Stone and Fleet Admiral Barry worked tirelessly, their leadership a beacon of hope for the weary soldiers. The Zahard, though momentarily disrupted, regrouped and launched another wave of attacks. Their relentless nature and advanced technology made them a formidable foe, but the human defenders were equally determined. The battle lines shifted constantly, each side gaining and losing ground in a deadly dance of war. In the midst of the chaos, Lieutenant Mark Hastings and his strike team continued to play a crucial role. Their successful raid on the Zahard supply depot had earned them a reputation as elite operatives, and they were frequently tasked with high-risk missions to disrupt enemy operations. Another day, another mission, Hastings said, his voice tinged with both weariness and determination. Let's make it count. This time their target was a Zahard communication hub, a vital node in the enemy's command and control network. If they could disable it, the Zahard forces would be thrown into disarray, giving the human defenders a critical advantage. The approach was fraught with danger. The communication hub was heavily guarded, and the Zahard were on high alert after the recent setbacks. Hastings and his team moved with the precision of seasoned veterans, their every step calculated to avoid detection. Hold here, Hastings whispered, raising a hand to signal a halt. Patrol coming our way. The team pressed themselves against the rocky terrain, their breaths held as a Zahard patrol passed by. The tension was palpable, but their training held firm. Once the patrol was out of sight, they resumed their advance, reaching the perimeter of the communication hub. Plant the charges, Hastings ordered, his eyes scanning the area for any signs of trouble. Private Reynolds moved swiftly, his hands deftly setting the explosives on key structural points. The rest of the team provided cover, their weapons at the ready. The minutes stretched into what felt like hours, but finally Reynolds gave the signal. Charges set, Lieutenant. Good work, Hastings replied. Let's move out and detonate from a safe distance. The team retreated, their hearts pounding with the anticipation of success. Once they were at a safe distance, Hastings activated the detonator. The explosion tore through the communication hub, a massive blast that sent debris and fire into the sky. Hubs down, Hastings reported. Let's get back to base. The successful destruction of the communication hub was a significant blow to the Zahard. Their command and control capabilities were severely hampered, and the human forces seized the opportunity to launch a coordinated assault on multiple fronts. General Stone, at the head of his ground forces, pushed forward with a renewed vigor. His energy sword, a symbol of his leadership, cut through Zahard defenses as his men followed with unwavering loyalty. The sound of battle was a symphony of destruction, but amidst the chaos, the human forces found a rhythm of their own. Push forward. We have them on the run. Stone's voice was a rallying cry, his presence a beacon of hope. In space, Fleet Admiral Barry's fleet pressed their advantage. The Zahard ships, disorganized and unable to effectively communicate, were vulnerable. The human ships, though outnumbered, used their superior tactics to outmaneuver and destroy the enemy vessels. All ships, concentrate fire on the flagship Barry ordered. We take it down, and the rest will fall. The combined firepower of the human fleet converged on the Zahard flagship, a massive behemoth bristling with weapons. The battle was fierce, but the human forces fought with a desperation born of necessity. Finally, under the relentless assault, the flagship's shields failed, and it exploded in a brilliant burst of light. Flagship down, Barry confirmed, a rare smile crossing his face. Well done, everyone. The destruction of the flagship marked a turning point in the battle for Ragnarok. The Zahard forces, though still formidable, were now on the defensive. The human defenders, emboldened by their successes, pressed their advantage. As the days turned into weeks, the battle continued, but the tide had unmistakably turned. The human forces, though battered and bruised, fought with a tenacity that refused to be extinguished. The Zahard, their ranks thinning, were slowly but surely pushed back. In the command center, General Stone and Fleet Admiral Barry stood together, their bond forged in the crucible of war. "We're winning," Stone said, his voice filled with a mixture of relief and determination. "We're winning," Barry agreed, "but we can't let up, not until every last Zahard is driven from our soil." As the final days of the siege approached, the human forces prepared for one last, decisive push. They knew that the battle for Ragnarok was not just a fight for survival, but a battle for the future of humanity. And they were ready to face it, united and unbreakable. Chapter 6: The Final Offensive. The human forces gathered their strength for the final offensive. The battle for Ragnarok had been long and arduous, but with each passing day, their resolve only grew stronger. The command center was a hive of activity as General Mack Stone and Fleet Admiral John Barry finalized their plans. Intelligence reports indicate the Zahard are concentrating their remaining forces in the northern sector, Stone said, pointing to the holographic map. This will be their last stand. Barry nodded. "We'll hit them with everything we have. Space and air support will focus on their supply lines and command centers. Ground forces will launch a coordinated assault. We break them here, and it's over." The plan was set. As night fell, the human forces moved into position, ready for the dawn assault that would determine the fate of Ragnarok. Soldiers checked their weapons, exchanged determined glances, and steeled themselves for the battle ahead. In the pre-dawn darkness, Lieutenant Mark Hastings and his strike team prepared for their role in the operation. Their target was a heavily fortified Zahard command post that served as the nerve center for the alien forces. "Remember, we go in fast and hard," Hastings reminded his team. "We take out their command structure, and the rest will fall apart." As the first light of dawn broke, the human forces launched their attack. Artillery and airstrikes pummeled Zahard positions, softening them up for the ground assault. The skies were filled with the roar of engines and the streaks of missiles as human ships and fighters engaged the Zahard fleet. On the ground, General Stone led his troops with characteristic resolve. His energy sword, glowing with a fierce light, cut through Zahard warriors with lethal precision. The sound of battle was deafening, a symphony of destruction that reverberated across the battlefield. "Push forward. We have to reach their command post." Stone's voice was a rallying cry, his presence a beacon of hope for his men. In space, Fleet Admiral Barry's fleet engaged the Zahard ships in a deadly dance of fire and maneuver. The human ships, though fewer in number, fought with a ferocity that matched the desperation of the situation. "Focus fire on their carriers," Barry ordered. "We need to take out their ability to launch reinforcements." As the ground forces advanced, Hastings and his team infiltrated the Zahard command post. Moving with the precision of seasoned operatives, they neutralized guards and planted charges on critical infrastructure. "Charges set," Private Reynolds reported. "Ready on your command, Lieutenant." "Detonate in 3, 2, 1, Hastings ordered. The explosion rocked the command post, sending shockwaves through the Zahard ranks. With their command structure in disarray, the alien forces faltered, their attacks becoming disorganized and less effective. "Command post is down," Hastings reported. "Let's move out and link up with the main force." The human ground forces, bolstered by the success of the strike team, pressed their advantage. The Zahard, unable to coordinate effectively, were pushed back on all fronts. The air was thick with the scent of burning metal and ozone, the ground littered with the debris of war. General Stone, his armor scorched and battered, continued to lead from the front. His presence inspired his men, driving them forward even as the battle reached its most brutal and chaotic moments. "Hold the line. We fight for our future," Stone shouted, his voice cutting through the noise of battle. As the sun climbed higher, the human forces gained ground, pushing the Zahard back toward their final defensive positions. The alien warriors, though fierce and relentless, could not withstand the combined might and determination of the human assault. In space, Barry's fleet dealt a decisive blow, destroying the last of the Zahard carriers and crippling their fleet. The remaining Zahard ships, their morale shattered, began to retreat. "All ships, maintain pursuit and mop up any stragglers," Barry ordered. "We're not giving them any chance to regroup." On the ground, the final push was underway. The human soldiers, their spirits lifted by the sight of retreating Zahard ships, fought with renewed vigor. The Zahard, cornered and desperate, made their last stand, but it was not enough. As the afternoon sun cast long shadows over the battlefield, the human forces finally broke through the last of the Zahard defenses. The alien warriors, their command structure destroyed and their morale shattered, were defeated. General Stone stood on a rise overlooking the battlefield, his eyes scanning the horizon. The sight of human soldiers raising their flags, reclaiming their planet, filled him with a sense of profound relief and pride. "We did it," Stone said softly, his voice heavy with emotion. "Ragnarok is ours." Fleet Admiral Barry's voice came through the comm, a rare note of triumph in his tone. "Well done, General. The Zahard are retreating. We've won." As the last echoes of battle faded, the human forces began the arduous task of tending to the wounded and honoring the fallen. The victory had come at a great cost, but it was a victory nonetheless. In the days that followed, the people of Ragnarok began to rebuild, their spirits unbroken despite the devastation. The battle had forged a new sense of unity and determination among them, a resolve to defend their home and their future against any threat. General Stone and Fleet Admiral Barry, their bond forged in the crucible of war, knew that the fight for humanity's survival was far from over. But they also knew that as long as they stood together, they could face any challenge. The Battle of Ragnarok would be remembered as a testament to the indomitable spirit of humanity, a story of courage, sacrifice, and unwavering resolve. And as the people of Ragnarok looked to the stars, they knew that their fight was not just for their own survival, but for the future of all humanity. Chapter 7: The Aftermath. The victory at Ragnarok echoed across the galaxy, a beacon of hope in the darkness. The human forces, though battered and bruised, stood victorious, having repelled the Zahard invasion. The planet's surface bore the scars of battle, but its people were determined to rebuild and fortify their defenses for whatever came next. General Mack Stone and Fleet Admiral John Barry were hailed as heroes, their leadership and unwavering resolve the linchpins of the human victory. As the dust settled, the two commanders met once more in the command center to discuss the future. "We've won a crucial battle, but the war is far from over," Barry said, his eyes scanning the holographic map of the galaxy. "The Zahard will regroup and come back stronger if we give them the chance." Stone nodded, his expression grim. "Agreed. We need to take the fight to them. hit their strongholds, disrupt their supply lines, and weaken their ability to wage war. The strategy was bold, but it was the only way to ensure that humanity's hard-won victory at Ragnarok would not be in vain. As plans were laid out, the human forces prepared for the next phase of the conflict, taking the offensive to the Zahard's own territory. Meanwhile, on the surface of Ragnarok, the soldiers who had fought so bravely began the long process of healing and rebuilding. Medical units worked tirelessly to treat the wounded, while engineers and construction teams set about repairing the damage wrought by the battle. Sergeant David Kane, his face lined with fatigue and determination, oversaw the reconstruction efforts in his sector. His squad, now a tight-knit group forged in the fires of combat, worked alongside civilians to restore critical infrastructure. "Every piece we rebuild is a step towards securing our future," Kane said, his voice steady. "We owe it to those who fell to make sure their sacrifice wasn't in vain." The mood was somber but resolute. The scars of battle were fresh, but the spirit of the people was unbroken. As they worked together, soldiers and civilians alike found solace in the unity and purpose that had emerged from the chaos. In a quiet moment, Lieutenant Mark Hastings visited the memorial erected for the fallen. The names of those who had given their lives in the defense of Ragnarok were etched into a towering monument, a stark reminder of the cost of war. "We'll carry on your fight," Hastings said softly, his hand resting on the cold stone. "We won't let you down." As the days turned into weeks, the human forces continued to strengthen their defenses and prepare for the next phase of the war. The Zahard, though dealt a significant blow, were far from defeated. Intelligence reports indicated that they were regrouping and fortifying their own positions. In the command center, General Stone and Fleet Admiral Barry received a transmission from Earth. The message was one of gratitude and encouragement, acknowledging the heroism of the defenders of Ragnarok and pledging additional support for the ongoing conflict. "Your victory has inspired us all," the message concluded. "Stand firm and know that the entire human race stands with you." The message galvanized the troops and bolstered their morale. They knew that the fight ahead would be long and difficult, but they also knew that they were not alone. As preparations for the offensive continued, Stone and Barry focused on gathering intelligence and planning their next moves. The Zahard strongholds were formidable, but the human forces had proven that they could overcome even the most daunting challenges. In a strategy meeting, Captain Nathan Cole presented a detailed analysis of the Zahard defenses. "Their primary strongholds are heavily fortified, but there are weak points we can exploit. If we coordinate our attacks and strike swiftly, we can dismantle their defenses piece by piece." "Good work," Captain Stone said, his eyes narrowing in thought. "We'll need to hit them hard and fast before they have a chance to regroup." The plan was set. The human forces would launch a series of coordinated strikes against the Zahard strongholds, using their knowledge of the enemy's tactics and weaknesses to their advantage. As the fleet prepared to depart, the soldiers of Ragnarok gathered for one last moment of reflection. They knew that the road ahead would be fraught with danger, but they were ready to face whatever came their way. "Remember why we fight," General Stone said, addressing his men. "We fight for our homes, for our families, and for the future of humanity. We will not falter. We will not fail." With those words echoing in their hearts, the human forces embarked on their mission. The Battle of Ragnarok had been a turning point, but the war was far from over. They were ready to take the fight to the enemy, to push back against the darkness and reclaim their place in the galaxy. Chapter 8: Into the Lion's Den. The human fleet, led by Fleet Admiral Barry, embarked on its mission with a renewed sense of purpose. The ships moved through the vastness of space with precision, their crews focused and determined. The target a series of Zahard strongholds that served as the backbone of their war effort. Barry stood on the bridge of the flagship, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. "All ships, prepare for hyperspace jump. Engage on my mark." The countdown began, and with a burst of energy, the fleet jumped to hyperspace. The stars blurred into streaks of light, and within moments they emerged near the first target, a heavily fortified Zahard outpost orbiting a desolate moon. "Deploy fighters and prepare for battle," Barry ordered. "We hit them hard and fast." The human ships moved into formation, their weapons charging as they closed in on the outpost. The Zahard defenses, caught off guard by the sudden appearance of the fleet, scrambled to respond. The battle began with a ferocity that shook the void, explosions lighting up the darkness. On the ground, General Stone led a simultaneous assault on the Zahard installations. The terrain was harsh and unforgiving, but the human soldiers moved with purpose, their resolve unshaken. Push forward. Take out their defenses. Stone's voice was a steady anchor amidst the chaos. Lieutenant Hastings and his strike team were once again at the forefront of the action. Their mission was to infiltrate the central command center and disable the outpost's coordination capabilities. Moving with the precision of seasoned operatives, they neutralized guards and planted charges on critical systems. Charges set, Reynolds reported. Ready to blow. Detonate on my mark, Hastings ordered. 3, 2, 1, mark. The explosion rocked the outpost, sending shockwaves through the Zahard ranks. With their command structure in disarray, the alien defenders faltered, and the human forces pressed their advantage. As the outpost fell, the human fleet continued its assault in space, methodically dismantling the Zahard defenses. The combined might of the human forces proved overwhelming, and within hours, the outpost was secured. First target secured, Barry reported. Prepare to move on to the next. The campaign continued with relentless precision. One by one, the Zahard strongholds fell before the coordinated assaults of the human forces. Each victory brought them closer to their ultimate goal, the heart of the Zahard war machine. As the fleet prepared for the final assault on the Zahard homeworld, the tension among the soldiers was palpable. They knew that this would be the most difficult and dangerous mission yet, but they were ready to face it. In the final briefing, General Stone addressed the assembled troops. This is it. We fought long and hard to get here, and now we're at the doorstep of the Zahard stronghold. We strike fast, we strike hard, and we don't stop until we've secured victory. For our homes, for our families, for humanity. The soldiers cheered, their voices filled with determination and resolve. They knew the stakes, and they were ready to give everything for the cause. As the fleet approached the Zahard homeworld, the scale of the enemy's defenses became clear. The planet was surrounded by a formidable array of orbital defenses, and the surface bristled with weaponry. All ships, prepare for engagement, Barry ordered. This is our final push. The battle began with an intensity that dwarfed all previous engagements. The human fleet, outnumbered but not outmatched, fought with a ferocity that left the Zahard reeling. On the ground, General Stone led the charge, his energy soared a beacon of hope and defiance. The Zahard, though fierce and relentless, could not withstand the coordinated assault. As the human forces pushed deeper into the enemy's territory, they encountered fierce resistance, but their determination never wavered. Lieutenant Hastings and his team infiltrated the central command center of the Zahard homeworld, their mission to disable the planetary defenses. The infiltration was tense, every step fraught with danger, but their training and skill saw them through. Plant the charges and get ready to move, Hastings ordered. The team moved swiftly, setting explosives on key systems. As the final charge was placed, they prepared for extraction. Detonate in 3, 2, 1, Hastings commanded. The explosion rocked the command center, crippling the Zahard's ability to coordinate their defenses. With their command structure in disarray, the alien forces began to falter. On the surface, General Stone's forces pushed forward, their momentum unstoppable. The Zahard, unable to regroup, were driven back on all fronts. The battle reached its climax as the human forces breached the central citadel, the heart of the Zahard's power. As the dust settled, the human forces stood victorious. The Zahard homeworld was secured, and the war, though not over, had reached a decisive turning point. General Stone, his armor scorched and battered, stood at the top of the citadel, looking out over the battlefield. The sight of human soldiers raising their flags, reclaiming their future, filled him with a profound sense of accomplishment. "We did it," Stone said softly, his voice filled with emotion. "The Zahard are defeated." Fleet Admiral Barry's voice came through the comm, a rare note of triumph in his tone. "Well done, General. The galaxy owes you a debt of gratitude." As the human forces began the arduous task of securing the planet and rebuilding, they knew that their fight was not just for their own survival, but for the future of all humanity. The Battle of Ragnarok and the subsequent campaign had proven that they could overcome any challenge, no matter how formidable. The victory at the Zahard homeworld marked the beginning of a new era. The human forces, united and determined, stood ready to face whatever came next, knowing that as long as they stood together, they could achieve anything. The story of the Battle of Ragnarok would be remembered as a testament to the indomitable spirit of humanity, a story of courage, sacrifice, and unwavering resolve. And as the people of the galaxy looked to the stars, they knew that their future was bright, their hope unbreakable, and their destiny in their own hands. Chapter 9: The Road to Peace. The aftermath of the final battle left the galaxy in a state of cautious optimism. The human forces had achieved what many believed was impossible. They had struck at the heart of the Zahard Empire and emerged victorious. But the victory came with the sobering realization that peace, while within reach, would require as much effort and dedication as the war itself. General Mack Stone and Fleet Admiral John Barry, now hailed as the architects of humanity's survival, turned their focus towards securing a lasting peace. The task was monumental. The Zahard, though defeated, still had pockets of resistance scattered throughout their former territories, and the rebuilding process on Ragnarok and other affected worlds would take years. "We've won the war," Stone said to Barry as they stood in the command center, looking over reports from across the galaxy. "Now we need to win the peace." Barry nodded, his expression serious. "We need to establish stability, rebuild our worlds, and ensure that the Zahard remnants don't regroup. It's a different kind of battle, but just as critical." The first step was to consolidate their gains. Human forces were deployed to former Zahard strongholds to maintain order and assist in the transition to peace. Reconstruction efforts began in earnest on Ragnarok, with soldiers and civilians working side by side to rebuild homes, infrastructure, and communities. Sergeant David Kane, who had fought fiercely in the battle for Ragnarok, took on a new role in the reconstruction efforts. His leadership skills and determination made him a natural choice to oversee the rebuilding of key areas. Under his guidance, towns and cities began to rise from the rubble, a testament to the resilience and spirit of the human race. "We're not just rebuilding buildings," Kane told his team as they worked. "We're rebuilding our lives, our hope, and our future. Every brick we lay, every beam we raise, is a step towards a better tomorrow." Lieutenant Mark Hastings, who had played a crucial role in the raids and infiltration missions, was tasked with securing and dismantling remaining Zahard weapon caches and strongholds. His expertise and tactical acumen were invaluable in ensuring that no remnants of the Zahard threat could endanger the fragile peace. "Stay vigilant," Hastings reminded his team as they moved through a former Zahard base. "We've come too far to let our guard down now. Every site we secure brings us closer to lasting peace." As the months passed, the galaxy began to heal. The unity and cooperation that had emerged during the war continued to strengthen as humans and former Zahard subjects worked together towards common goals. The scars of battle remained, but they served as reminders of the cost of conflict and the value of peace. In a historic move, General Stone and Fleet Admiral Barry convened a summit on Ragnarok, inviting representatives from across the galaxy, including former Zahard leaders who had renounced their aggressive ways. The goal was to establish a new order, one based on mutual respect, cooperation, and the shared desire for a peaceful future. The summit was a turning point. Amidst tense negotiations and heartfelt speeches, a framework for peace was established. The new Galactic Council, a governing body representing all races and worlds, was formed to oversee the reconstruction efforts and ensure that the mistakes of the past would not be repeated. "We stand here today, not as conquerors, but as survivors," Stone said in his address to the council. "We have faced the darkness together, and together we have prevailed. Let this be the beginning of a new era, one where we work together to build a future where peace, prosperity, and freedom are the cornerstones of our existence." Barry added, "The road ahead will not be easy. There will be challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But as long as we stand united, as long as we remember what we have fought for, we can overcome any obstacle." The summit ended with a renewed sense of hope and purpose. The Galactic Council set to work immediately, tackling issues ranging from economic recovery to security and interstellar diplomacy. Slowly but surely, the galaxy began to stabilize, and the horrors of the Zahard War began to fade into memory. As the years passed, the story of the Battle of Ragnarok and the heroes who led humanity to victory became legend. Monuments were erected and stories were told, honoring the bravery, sacrifice, and determination of those who had fought for their future. General Mack Stone and Fleet Admiral John Barry continued to serve as leaders and advisors, guiding the galaxy through its transition to peace. Their bond, forged in the crucible of war, remained strong, and their vision for a united galaxy continued to inspire all who heard it. In a quiet moment, standing on a hill overlooking a rebuilt city on Ragnarok, Stone turned to Barry and said, "We did it, John. We really did it." Barry smiled, the weight of years and battles clear in his eyes, but so was the unyielding resolve. "Yes, Mac, we did, and now we ensure that the peace we fought so hard for endures." The galaxy, once torn apart by conflict, now looked to the future with hope and determination. The lessons of the past had been hard-won, but they paved the way for a brighter tomorrow. And as long as the spirit of unity and resilience endured, the people of the galaxy knew they could face any challenge together. Epilogue: A New Dawn. Years later, as the galaxy thrived under the guidance of the Galactic Council, the story of the Battle of Ragnarok and its heroes became a cornerstone of interstellar culture. Schools taught the history of the war, memorials stood as reminders of the sacrifices made, and the principles of unity and cooperation were deeply ingrained in the fabric of society. General Mack Stone and Fleet Admiral John Barry, now retired from active duty, were often sought after for their wisdom and leadership. They had become symbols of resilience and hope, their names synonymous with the triumph of good over evil. On a quiet evening, Stone and Barry met at the same hill where they had once overseen the rebuilding of Ragnarok. The city below was bustling with life, a testament to the success of their efforts. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" Stone said, his voice filled with pride. Barry nodded. "It is. And it's a reminder of what we can achieve when we stand together." As they watched the sunset, casting a golden glow over the city, they knew that their legacy would endure. The future they had fought for was now a reality, and the galaxy was a better place because of it. The Battle of Ragnarok and the war against the Zahard had been a defining moment in the history of the galaxy. But it was the peace that followed, the unity and cooperation that emerged from the ashes of conflict, that truly defined the future. The Zahards and humans, a once enemy, developed warmer relations and became allies over time. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Stone and Barry shared a quiet moment of reflection, knowing that their journey, though filled with trials and tribulations, had been worth every sacrifice. They had secured not just a victory, but a future where peace, hope, and unity could flourish. And so, under the vast expanse of the galaxy they had fought so hard to protect, General Mack Stone and Fleet Admiral John Barry looked to the stars, confident that the dawn of a new era had truly begun. But yet another storm has started in the parts of the universe with an old once ally. The Cold War had begun.